In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the name still life photos. For this project, you will arrange an assortment of symbolic objects in a pleasing composition, similar to this example. This project was designed for grades 3 through 4, and here are the learning objectives. Students will use letters to spell their names, and then create multiple compositions using symbolic objects. Students will experiment with the following compositional techniques while arranging their objects: the rule of thirds, deliberate color scheme, get close, and leading lines. Students will choose their best photo and then write an artist statement that will help viewers understand the meaning behind the photo. The rule of thirds. Imagine a tic-tac-toe grid over the scene that you are photographing. Anywhere where the lines cross is a focal point. So that is a good place to place whatever your main objects are. In this case, the camera and cell phone in the bottom corner and the apple in the top corner are near focal points. In art, nothing has to be 100%. So even though the apple isn't perfectly on the intersecting lines, it's close enough. And I also like the way Gennaro replaced the O in his name with the apple, which is a similar shape. This photo doesn't use the rule of thirds, but it's still a nice arrangement of objects. So you should experiment with each of the techniques that we're discussing, but you don't have to use them exclusively. In this case, the artist carefully considered the placement of each item. I particularly like the way the H on the Harry Potter doll created the H in Sophie's name. The next thing that you should experiment with is the deliberate choice of color. In this case, this is a warm color scheme, but you could also choose a cool color scheme. So using a dominant color scheme can help unify your photo and make the objects look like they all belong together. You could consider throwing in a contrasting color if you'd like to draw attention to an important area of your photo. And I also like the way this person arranged the letters of their name. They're kind of have a bit of a playful nature. Here's another way that you can use color. It's called a limited color scheme. And in this case, it provides a calming effect in what might otherwise be a chaotic image. So you can imagine if this had every color under the rainbow, you might not necessarily know what to focus on. In this photo, the colors used are black, white, red, and blue. What's happening in this color scheme? This artist used many neutral colors like tan, cream, brown. You can see that there are stones and little statues, some jewelry made out of natural elements, and then added a little variety with green and blue-green elements. And the overall effect, in my opinion, is soothing and harmonious. Another technique that you should experiment with is get close. By eliminating unnecessary space around the object, you can help the viewer focus on the focal point, which in this case is the letters. The blurry edges in this photo add interest, but be careful because cameras can't focus if you get too close to the objects. Here's another example of getting close. So again, unnecessary details have been eliminated from the edges. The other thing that the artist experimented in this photo was taking the photo in a vertical format instead of a horizontal format. Leading lines is the last compositional technique that I'd like you to experiment with. So in this case, the line was created by the grapes that point the viewer's eye towards the focal point, which is the name. And using the bright pink flower also helps draw your attention to the person's name. Your symbolic objects. What I suggest that you do is just look around your house, look in your backpack, find some things that could represent things that you're interested in. So here is my collection of objects, and all these objects represent different things to me symbolically. So for example, the bird nest with the egg to me represents family. When doing this project with a classroom full of children, you can ask students to bring things from home, but sometimes you don't get a lot of results. Students oftentimes forget. In my classroom, I actually have several bins full of objects, like I have a toy bin with toy animals and other toys in it. I have a bin that has flowers, a bin that has fruit. So I'll get those out and let the students choose from them objects that might represent them. The letters. Well, in this photograph, I had some children's wooden blocks with letters, and I had some cardboard letters. And since this photo was taken, I've also have some refrigerator magnets. And every time I go to the store and I see a set of alphabet whatever, I will pick it up and bring it to my classroom so that I can use it for this project in the future. So as a teacher, I always have my eye open for things that I can use in my classroom. So when you're doing this project at home, you're going to have to look around and see what you have available. You might have to end up maybe cutting letters out of a magazine or printing letters from the internet. I'm going to be really interested to see what everyone comes up with. And it is okay to mix and match the letters. So you could use one refrigerator magnet and one letter cut out of a magazine, and that can make it look really interesting. When I do this with my students, I always emphasize that they need to put the objects back neatly where they got them from. Otherwise, you will have a chaotic mess that you have to clean up later. So again, in my classroom, I get out these little wooden easels that I have, and I have giant sheets of construction paper in all sorts of different colors. And then I use these clips to just clip the paper to the easel, and then the students can change the colors if they would like to, or they can stick with one color. At home, you could perhaps use a sheet or a towel or a colored paper or whatever you have on hand. The other thing that I emphasize to my students is pay attention how the light falls onto the paper and make sure that there are not dark shadows. So deliberately choose someplace perhaps next to a window, or perhaps turn a lamp on so that your scene is illuminated nicely. When you're focusing on the objects, try to get only the colored paper or the colored background. Try not to get anything on the outside edges. So that means that you'll have to zoom in with your camera in order to eliminate any distracting things from the edges. So I do recommend that you try all sorts of different compositions. You never know what's going to turn out looking nice. You can see in these photos I moved the nest around in all different ways. I moved the little corgi toy around. I moved the seed packet around. So it helps to try different things out, and then when you look at them later, you can choose your best one. So after you've chosen your best photo, you need to write an artist statement for it, and follow this link here to get the handout that has the questions to help you develop your artist statement. And you can read my example, which I have here on the right side of the slide. And when you're finished, you should post your photo and your artist statement in the same discussion post on Canvas. That's it for this video. Have fun with your projects, everyone.